Hello! Hello, everyone! I hope you're doing well. It's good to be back. Start of a new week. Start of a fresh project as well, which I'm pretty excited about. And it's just amazing to be here with you all. Honk! Honk indeed, Armand! Good God. Were you around during the entirety of the stream on Saturday? Because holy heck, 7 hours we played of Phasmophobia. We're playing some more this week as well once the new update drops. Oh wow. If you were lurking, then I dread to think how many honking points you've managed to accrue. No, my brain wasn't in the space where I could handle the spooks. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Completely understandable. Well, the VOD is still, floating around on Twitch. I haven't decided if I'm going to be chopping it up into content to go on the YouTube channel or not, but we'll go from there. Hi, Pete. How you doing? We're also just going to quickly get ready, go live on Instagram. As is now the thing that we do on this channel. Hey, Ember. Hope you're well. Hence why I'm here to, one, to earn honking points, and two, to see what is the new project. Yeah, it's going to be exciting. Realistically speaking, I'm looking at it at the moment, I don't actually know how long it's going to take. I could take a rough guess with Vashtor that it was going to be like a good month or two worth of project, which turned out to be about actually, considering we got it in May, yeah, probably about 3 months worth of project. That worked out quite nicely. This one might be less. I don't know. We'll see. Right, let's try that again. Could be better. Had a newer spicy day today and not in a good way. Oh, sorry to hear that, Pete. Got to check out the VOD potentially tomorrow. Awesome! Well, I'd say maybe at least skip the first hour or so of it, because that was us mostly just trying to sort out settings and all that. Because there was this weird sort of stuttering happening throughout the course of the video. I'm just suffering glue at the moment. 50 plus minis to assembles. Have fun. Been dealing with a toothache last couple of days. Oof, sorry to hear that. I hope that gets better for you soon. Definitely. Right. Let's get on into it. Hi, Cybernetic Nightmare. Hope you're well. So, don't really have too much. Either it will or it won't. Okay, right. Yeah, I mean, I know that all too well in the current atmosphere. So, yeah, don't really have too much to announce. Toothache is not nice for you. Feel for you, Almonds. Yes, we definitely do. You have all of our love and positive vibes being beamed directly your way. So yeah, nothing really much to announce at the moment. I'm still working on stuff behind the scenes. Just really keep an eye out for that when it drops for the most part. But we have been slowly but surely uploading bits and pieces to the gaming channel on YouTube. So if you want to go give that a subscribe or a like, or go watch some of the content on there, it's Eldritch Sophie Plays Games. I think there'll be a new video going live pretty soon, and it'll be one of the older Phas videos that we did. Hey, Hut Armories. I hadn't realised you were a streamer, by the way. I went ahead and dropped you a follow the other day on Twitch whilst I was doing some stuff behind the scenes. Hi, Hero Quest Guru. Love the name. Well, as we all know, the best thing about Hero Quest is the Guru. Shortly followed by the Broadsword. Right. Broadsword. Yes, absolutely, Armand. Definitely. But we are still plowing through posting up VODs onto the onto the Eldritch Sophie Paint Minis channel as well. So if we're going to catch some of the older VODs on Twitch, which I don't know if they're going to be available or not anymore, then you'll at least be able to see them there. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. It's much appreciated. Some delicious freeway cola. Right. Let's get on into it. So, Massive Mondays. And I'm not even kidding either. Like, this is no joke. I'm not trolling. Yes, this is a teeny tiny model. But this is part of what we're going to be working on tonight. It's not the only thing. It's going to be part of what we're working on tonight. Part of the new project. It's very Necron-y, is all I'm going to say. Titan when? Maybe soon. That is a singular Necron. It is. Well observed. Right. And to be honest with you, we're mostly just going to be doing a bunch of dry brushing at the moment. Hi, Alan Dane. Hope you're well. So, let's start off, as we mean to go on, with some Tinny Tin. Diorama for the next Golden Demon. No. I won't be entering this particular model into Golden Demon. I won't actually be allowed to. And you'll see why shortly. Right, yep, okay. I'm thinking we stuck with a nice big dry brush. Well, actually, it's a small model. Smallish dry brush will probably do. Not officially. See, now you're starting to get it. Is it the strip art diorama? It is not. It is not, because I'm not publicly a degenerate like you. I am, of course, joking. Or am I? No, it is. It is kind of a diorama in and of itself, just with the way it's all posed and everything, which is what I quite like about it. But also, I like it because it's a cool design. But for the purposes of it, we do need a couple of flared ones. I do actually have one that I did earlier, so we're just going to get this flared one up to about the same standard. So you're a private degenerate then? Absolutely. Your degeneracy is well known, Sophie. No need to pretend. Think you should tackle a Tau Mountain model one day. Well, if somebody wants to, help fund that reality, then gladly. Whether that be by actually buying the full-on Forge World model, which is like not quite $1,000, but it's close to it, or at the very least the equivalent amount of resin it would need to print the damn thing, then yeah, I could see us doing that. I will freely admit I have been somewhat tempted to get a hold of Commander Farsight and paint that up for a Massive Mondays project, because it's a hefty mini. And it's also really quite cool, but at the same time, I don't care about Tau and never have done. It is still quite a nice, diorama-ish model. If I win the lottery, you're going to be buried in years worth of projects. Assuming I'm not already. Nobody cares for Tau. I dispute that only because I know a few people IRL who do. Not many. I've met exactly 3 or 4 Tau players out in the wild, which are still 3 or 4 more than you'd ever expect. Even though I have a Tau kiltsy. Fair. I mean, now there's an idea. I could potentially see myself, like, getting either a Farsight or a Pathfinder kill team for Tau and painting them up to look like the Solarians out of Mass Effect. Not necessarily Modern Solus, because I already have ideas for that. Cosmic's brother no longer plays Tau, as far as I'm aware. No, but he has in the past. Hi, Bully. How you doing? We are just currently dry brushing up some Necrons. No, but he has indeed played Tau in the past. Which, as far as I'm concerned, still counts. No, but a mutual person you and I both know, although you may have... I don't know if you remember him, because it was a very long time ago that he used to play Magic at our local game store when we used to go there, Armand. But Leon, he plays Tau, or at least has played Tau. And they're pretty damn good, like nicely painted as well. He painted them up to sort of look like Iron Man, or like red and gold with like blue like energy and whatchamacallit, exhaust burst effects on it, and they look really fantastic. Right, that's one layer of dry brushing done. Not entirely sure why I'm cleaning off my brush. I'm literally just going to go back into some more metals in a minute. Right. Tinnyton out of the way. We'll work with some Brassy Brass to go with my main Arc Dynasty Necrons, which should be a little bit of a clue as to what we're going to be painting. Nothing will be as annoying as 2,000 points of nothing but pink horrors and Lord of Change for a HQ. True enough. True enough, but that's because very few things are. Hello, what? I'm sorry, I'm going to end up butchering that name. Hi. I do sincerely apologise for that. Pinkest Horrors, yes. I missed the Pinkest Horrors. They were good fun. Not me with 1,500 points of NIDS being primed right now. Yeah. This is truth. So base coat of Tinnyton, base, and then dry brush over the top with Brassy Brass. And what we'll do is we'll shade it all down with some Agrax at a later junction. Not right this very second, because I need to get some more base coat on it first. It's an Arabic name. That's fair. I didn't want to cause offense by horrifically pronouncing it terribly. Because we're going to need to go into some Rakarth flesh in a minute to do all the, like, hanging skin off of this Necron. The book am I doing? I mean, banning you, quite frankly, is what I'm doing. At least once I find a way to do so. There we go. Someone on the naughty step? Yeah. I mean, there were nicer ways to ask what it is I'm doing, to be honest with you. There we go. Right. So these two are now almost at the same point. I think I've already got... Yeah, I think I must have already shaded this one in Agrax beforehand because you can kind of see the difference. There's like an ever so subtle difference in shade between the two of them. I suspect that's probably what's happened there. Right.
No, it's not a cult. It's an organized religion. We're very powerful, and there's a lot of us followers. And oh shit, a real cult?
Well,
Thank you very kindly for the gift sub there, Warlord. That was greatly appreciated. Any and all support is greatly appreciated. I'm hoping I'll be able to put my Patreon back up and running soon, so that way people can support me that over there instead, because it would be better. Right. Rakarth Flesh. Go-to paint if you want to make skin look dead. Oh, to be honest with you, you'll probably see pretty soon what I mean in terms of diorama-wise why maybe I want this skin to look a little fresher. In fact, yeah, let's do that. I'm going to change things up slightly. I am actually going to coat this in Agrax. If I can remember where it's gone. There it is. There we are. Give all that a nice coat of Agrax, and that will definitely help make that look a little bit richer. Just a nice extra little step to it. Just means I am probably going to need to give this a moment or two to dry before I can come back to it, but that's fine. So yeah, I'm a little in a bit sort of two minds really as to whether or not to go Rakarth Flesh or something a bit warmer, like some tan colour. Suppose I could do one in one and one in the other. And see how I feel about that. It's ridiculous how tired I am today. Oh god, tell me about it. I've spent most of like the past couple days on and off asleep. It's been ridiculous. So I completely understand. Toothache has kept me up. Recommend getting an emergency dentist appointment as soon as you can. Yeah, definitely. You might be hard pressed to find any emergency dentists, but if you speak to 111, they can at least point you in the right direction. It might even just be a case of getting you up to the orthodontist department in, I think the closest one is in Durham. That's how ridiculous things are at the moment. Like, genuinely, I was lucky to actually get appointments with the dentist I'm with at the moment. There we go. Just need to do the inside of those flaps of skin. It's fine if it's not gone in a few days, I'll look into it. That's reasonable. At the very least, maybe look into getting some good quality painkillers, like some codeine or something. Especially if it's keeping you up. Benzonacane works wonders. So I've heard. Never used it myself, though. Ooh. Okay. I mean, that's fine, because I'm going to be putting some brass paint on there anyway, for another part of the diorama later. So for now, that'll do. Hi, Tiz. Hope you're well. There we go. Just working on a Necron flayed one. Well, a couple of Necron flayed ones, actually, for big project that we're working on for our streams. There we are. It's like a nice fashionable scarf of meat and flesh. Strictly speaking, perhaps perhaps Reichland Flash shade might work better as the shade for this stuff. Oh, actually, that works out quite well. I didn't realize that that they've got some of this sort of like loose skin draped over their thighs as well. Okay, cool. I thought it was just this sort of shawl of skin that they've got. No, okay. Okay, I can kind of dig that. That's awesome. Ooh, that's given me some interesting ideas, actually. Try to make it in town tomorrow for small painkillers. Good idea, definitely. There we go. So I don't know if anyone else has been having a huge problem with flies this summer. It's been pretty ridiculous. Like we try to keep on top of things as best we can around the house, but still seems to be pretty much swarming with them, and it's ridiculous. Right. God, yes, flies everywhere. Okay, so it's not just us then. Ooh, worried we were doing something horribly wrong. I know we had a bad summer a couple of years ago where flies were a bit of a nightmare. But I also put that down to just where I was living at the time. I mean, I don't know if it's the same sort of story, but I'm also living in a very different environment. I think my landlord moves them in for free. I think we're going to have to start charging our cat rent or something. It's not doing a terribly good job of keeping the pests out. Like, he likes to think he's a big, strong, capable hunter, but he's really not. There we are. So far we have a couple of early base coated flayed ones. I figure if I can at least... He works hard chasing slugs. It's about the only thing he works hard for, that and treats. Certainly works hard to get treatos. In before someone says maybe we should feed him more treatos, and then maybe he'll do a better job. He's good at defending us from the horrible, vicious, ferocious neighborhood cats on the other side of the window. Winter Warrior. Yeah, that definitely describes Oscar. If he were a human, he'd absolutely be a keyboard warrior. Then again, he's so spoiled as a cat that literally his biggest worry and his biggest thing he has to concern himself with is when he accidentally gets stuck on furniture. It's adorable up until he starts clawing us to bits when we try to get his claws that are stuck in the sofa loose. Right, that's dry enough now that we can go in with some Reichland Flesh Shade. After I've degunked the dropper lid, just for the sake of easiness, we'll stick with that same brush. No sense changing now. And we'll coat all of that flayed skin. And just really let that settle in there. There we are. Just build that up nice and thick. Don't need to worry about it sort of coffee staining because that kind of at least adds to the effect of it. I will soak up some of it there. I think there's a bit too much on it. There we are. And to be honest with you, for the most part, these are pretty close to done because there really isn't a massive amount that you need to do with flayed ones. Which means we can actually go ahead and work on the main project. So, presenting to all of you illustrious viewers out here on Twitch and also out there on Instagram as well, I present to you the so far only canonical female Necron, the Mother of Oblivion, which is a hecking awesome title for a when you actually read up about her in the lore, she's pretty gnarly. She's the Ferek, which is the female equivalent of Pharaon, of the Maynarch dynasty, which is what I'm hopefully going to be doing an entire army based off of. There's no official model for her whatsoever, but we know she exists in the lore. And she is utterly ruthless. And when we first started getting into 3D printing, we stumbled across, or that I stumbled across this particular model. And I immediately thought, right, I have to have that. I have to. I searched it up and I was thinking, hang on a second, that's an actual character. So yeah, to rival the Silent King himself, she's a big girl. She's a very tall lady with apparently weirdly thick thighs for like an unliving robot. I would say makes sense out of that, but I don't care because she's just she's heckin' awesome. One of the many things about something Wokehammer. I know, right? Barbie paint job. No. I'm gonna be trying to stick as close to like the dynasty's actual color scheme as possible. So we're gonna be going with lots of brass. We're gonna be going with orange for the energy glows. But the whole thing with the Maynard dynasty is they have like probably the highest or one of the highest numbers of flayed ones amongst their ranks, because for whatever reason, their troops were just really susceptible to the flare virus. So, considering she's literally like striding atop a tableau of disemboweled, dismembered space marine, I figured why not have some flayed ones for her base? Anyway, so yeah, that's the big reveal. That's the big surprise. And all I can say is I'm excited. It's gonna be cool. She's a Necron girl in a Necron world. Life and metal, she's quite fatal. Oh my god. That doesn't work as well as it should. But points for effort, that's all I'm gonna say. And for those playing home on Instagram, this is what we're gonna work with. To be honest with you, there is actually another piece to her as well. She's got this kind of cool like back piece as well, which I've decided to keep separate only because she has this kind of like really awesome hidden detail on this particular sculpt. She literally has a Catan shard trying to escape out of her body, and I think that's kind of epic. There's no rational reason for that to actually be there, but it just sort of like adds that extra little touch to her character, and I think it's great. Anyway, let's start with the cloak, only because that's going to involve quite a bit of dry brushing, so I'd rather do that now and get that out of the way. She's like if a xenomorph fucked a Necron. You know what? I love that description, and I'm gonna go with that. That's brilliant. Oh, wow. Okay. Let's go with some night blue. Because we're working with like a lot of oranges and browns, and I think blue would be a nice color to go for with the cloak. Especially if we go for like a really, really dark blue. Now the question is, can I get away with layering that, or should I just dry brush it? Let's try. Let's at least try and layer it if we can. Barbie likes Action Man, only fakes it with Ken. Clearly you've not seen the Barbie movie then. That's all I'm going to say about that. I mean, I haven't either, but I've at least heard about how much of a send up against toxic masculinity Ken's whole story arc in it is, which I think is really, really cool. Guys, I've got a long day ahead of me tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the stream. No problem. You have a good night, Pete. Hope your day goes well. But yeah, seeing this design sort of gave me very Nightbringer vibes. So it felt like a nice little call out to that. To do her cloak in this sort of night blue. But yeah, she definitely has that sort of tall, spindly vibe about her that xenomorphs do, so I can completely see where you're coming from with that. But yeah, I think as badass as this design is, I would love to enter it into Golden Demon because it's a 3D print and it's not an official model. It would just get disqualified straight away. I don't even think I'd be allowed to enter it. Which, you know, is a bit of a shame, but oh well. Besides which, I'm not even thinking about Golden Demon at the moment. I'm just having fun painting stuff for me. Like I was thinking about whether or not to enter next year, and I'm still sort of on the fence about it. Someone motivate me to get up and turn off the light. I was going to say it might help with your pain, then I just remembered it's a toothache you've got, not a headache. Why turn off the light anyway? I mean, it's nighttime at the moment. Surely you would want the light to be on, I would have thought. Okay, right. Cattle prod. Yeah, that would definitely be good enough motivation. We're at initial base coat at the moment there. Tide will probably fall asleep soon. Fair enough. Then yeah, maybe going and turning off your light might be a good idea. Okay. Trying to think of what would be best for me to work on next. If it weren't for the fact I'm just mostly waiting for all the base coats on that skirt to dry. I also haven't quite decided yet if the weird sort of veil she's wearing is going to be in dark blue like the cloth that's draped over her, or if that's going to be skin. Thing is, Zun Bakir, which is her name, she herself's not actually infected with the flare virus. It's just, for whatever reason, there are a lot of flayed ones in her dynasty, so if I remember rightly, like, lore-wise, she tends to view them as a bit of like a necessary evil. Like, she's not proud of the fact that they exist, but at the same time, she's very pragmatic and is happy to put them to work rather than just sort of shunning them like a lot of the other dynasties do. Either case, maybe I could start doing some of the metallics on her body. So let's go with that. So we'll go back into some tinny tin. Hi, Taylor Wargaming. Hope you well. We're just working on a big, massive 3D sculpt of a canonical and kind of amazing Necron character who doesn't actually have their own model. which I would kind of argue is a bit of a missed opportunity for Games Workshop, but at the same time, if I remember rightly, they don't actually have models for any of the other Pharaons. With maybe the exception of Imhotep the Stormlord, who I don't remember if he's a Pharaon or not. But I do love the absolute power move that she has going on for her, literally just sort of like stepping on the chest of this half-dead Space Marine. Ooh, yeah, I feel like I made a good choice with the blue for the robes, actually. Just seeing that sort of side by side with the dark brass actually looks really good. What chapter will I paint that guy? I don't know. I'd have to double check again, because it's been a while since I've looked into the specifics of it. I suppose it largely depends on which chapter the Maynarch dynasty tended to find themselves up against the most. That's it. Yeah, they're instrumental into something called the Orphean War, which is effectively them versus the Imperium of Man and the Orpheus sector. So I'm just trying to remember which. Okay, so Adeptus Astartes delegations, which includes the Minotaurs and Angels Revenant chapter. Angels Revenant chapter. Chapters, even. Angels Revenant. What's their whole thing? I mean, they're an Ultramarine successor. Ooh. I like their design. Very sort of like typical, not quite Ultramarines blue, because it's a little darker than that by the looks of things, with sort of ivory white shoulder pads and gold trim. It's kind of nice, actually. Otherwise, you've got the Minotaurs, which, if I remember rightly, their armor is kind of like a brassy color as well. So that would just kind of clash a bit too much with. Yeah, that would just blend in too much with with the Necrons themselves. Oh, actually, yeah, looking at this, it makes more sense to go for the Angels Revenant chapter because they made up the vast majority of the casualties, tens of billions, with the war resulting in near enough the entirety of that chapter completely annihilated. Yeah, let's go with that. That's cool. I feel that's a nice, bold statement. In which case, I can probably use that Night Blue as the base coat for this, for the Marine as well. But we'll do as much as we can get away with of the brass first. But yeah, I remembered it was Necrons versus Space Marines and a whole bunch of the Imperial Guard as well. I just couldn't quite remember exactly which flavour of Space Marines they went up against. But yes, Angels, Revenant, and Minotaurs. But yeah, it's part of one of the more interesting but also lesser discussed story beats of 9th edition is the Orpheus War. Mainly lesser discussed because the Space Marines got their absolute backsides handed to them. Resulted in them declaring exterminatus on several planets because they were just completely overrun by Necrons. Hi, Johnny T541. Hope you're well. We're just painting this big 3D printed badass Necron lady. But yeah, when I was trying to decide which dynasty I was going to go for, if I do start collecting Necrons, which is looking fairly likely, to be honest with you, finally fulfilling my teenage dream of having a Necron army, I started diving into the lore behind these guys. and they're pretty bloody fascinating. Necrons versus Nids this week. Unfortunately not, because I don't have enough Necrons. And certainly not to build the army I want to build. Besides which, I'm still trying to learn 10th edition as well, so I'd probably just throw some Space Marines at you. But yeah, if you're up for it, we can do that this week. I'm a tie. I don't know. Could go either way. We're both learning, so we'll see how it all pans out. Got about 1,200 points, we think. Okay. Well, what we'll do at some point is we'll sit down together, we'll look over what you have, and point it up, and if it's over 1,000, we'll try and see if we can't help you cull it down a bit. Just to make it a bit fairer for both of us. Oof, and here's where things get a little bit kind of dicey because that hand is very spindly. I think I've got like 30 Termi and 35 Barbs. Okay. Well, as I say, we'll sit down, we'll work it out, and go from there. I know I've got 1,000 points worth of salamanders I can chuck at you. And that's all built as well. So far, I'm loving how this is coming out. I was at one point whilst toying with the idea of doing this model, thinking about maybe trying to do her body in non-metallic metals, but I'm also kind of glad I chose not to now. Because honestly, this is looking really good. But yeah, this is what I was saying when I was thinking, I don't quite know how long this project's going to take. Because, realistically speaking, there's not an awful lot to it. Like, it's a pretty simple design. With not a massive amount that I kind of really need to do with it. Yeah, there's going to be a ton of neatening up in a minute or two, but I can kind of live with that. And yeah, everything's going to need like a second coat that is going to go without saying, to be honest with you. But for now, if we just get a nice, quick early coat, cross everything, we can neaten up afterwards. There we go. Nice and smoothly does it. And if you think that tail looks slightly unfinished, like there should be a piece on the end of it, all I can say is well observed. There absolutely should be, and if I remember rightly, it didn't print correctly. But I also couldn't be bothered to try and fix it. And I think it looks okay without it, so... To be honest, I don't even remember exactly what it is. It was like a really super thin blade-like thing, a bit similar to the end of the tail on the Shard of the Void Dragon, which I think is clearly what this is based off of. Right, there we go. And what we'll do is we'll start off with the base coat on the Spes Marine. Right, okay, there we are. So we're looking at pretty much most of that being in blue. We'll also paint up the inside of that armhole there. And basically everything about this guy except for the shoulder pads and trim. Hey, fat man, how are you doing? Been a while since I've seen you around. Oh, unless I'm thinking of someone else. I remember there used to be a Twitch streamer on here called The Fat Man. Really nice guy, actually. Super energetic. Doing well, though. Thank you for asking. How are you? I think for one thing, I need to finish off the details around the face before we go any further with any other kinds of painting up any different colours there. Oh. Damn it. Oh well, never mind. Just gonna have to be very careful. I'm gonna end up with metallic reflective particles in some of my other paints. Should be fine though. Honestly, I'm loving how this is turning out. Hi, Miniature Frontier. Hope you're well. There we are. We're just working on this big 3D printed Necron sculpt for a very amazing canonical character in the 40k setting who doesn't actually have their own model. But yeah, I think if we do that face veil thing, in the blue cloth as well, could be a bit of a nice touch. Hi Carl, how are you doing? On fresh water. I should be okay, thanks. Much appreciated though. There we go. I think we just have to be very careful when it comes to painting in the big power tree that he's got. Hi, Mike Chili. How are you doing? Thank you for the raid. It's greatly appreciated. Welcome, raiders. Welcome in. I'm Eldritch Sophie, and it's a Monday, and on Mondays we paint massive things. So I'm painting up this one-of-a-kind, I say one-of-a-kind, well, 3D print sculpt of a very amazing... Heidi, hi. That doesn't quite work in my head for some reason. Amazing 3D sculpt of a pretty badass Necron character that doesn't have their own model yet. That being Zun Bakir, the Mother of Oblivion, or the Ferek of the Maynarch dynasty. The only canonically female Necron. Great. I'll move down to a smaller brush. We can use that as an opportunity to work into some metallic details. Some of the finer details, at least. So I think we'll get some gunmetal. Sorry if my sound balance all wrong, so I didn't hear much. How's it going? It's going well, thank you. I was just saying how we're working on the only canonically female Necron character in the current 40k setting, which is the leader of the Maynarch dynasty, otherwise known as the Mother of Oblivion. She's a pretty fantastic, unique character who doesn't have her own model, but there is this rather absolutely excellent 3D sculpt of her on Cults 3D, which is what we're working on tonight. Just because I know you were wondering last week what the new project was going to be for Massive Mondays. Well, here she is. And, like, just for scale, she is pretty bloody massive. Like, here's your box standard size Necron, which is just a regular flared one, which is going to be one of the things going on her base. So yeah, she's a tall girl. Yes, I did. There we are. If we just focus this into like all of these areas in between the armor plates, all this sort of musculature, and some of those joins as well, where we keep the brass color the predominant color of her design, which is very much in keeping with the design of the Maynarch dynasty. What we'll do is we'll also paint up this sort of Catan vacuum on her back in this colour as well. Planning a trip to Warhammer World in September. Nice. I hope you enjoy yourself. Who knows, maybe it's something I might look into myself some point in the future. Probably not anytime soon. There's quite a lot we need to deal with at the moment. Lots of other things for money to be spent on. Get tetchy if I don't go at least once a quarter. Nice. Perfect excuse. You got to work in your several annual trip to the motherland after all. That's how it works. I've been in my new job 6 weeks, so I need some time to chill. Yeah, sounds like a good plan. How is the new job going anyway? I know you don't need an excuse to go, but it's always handy to have one. Now we have to try and at least keep a little bit consistent. With like some of these serval bits, these sorts of joins in between each of her limbs. Do all those in the silver color. Your job's going awesome, thanks. I think I've hit the ground running. So how massive that is. The enforced summer break in F1, so it's not been busy around the factory. Ooh. Oh, you work in Formula 1 now? Oh, well, that's fancy. It's alright for some people. Nice. Definitely nice. Yes, I know this is somewhat painstaking doing the in-betweens of each of these joins on the tail, and I almost didn't bother originally, I will freely admit. But I do think it's nice because it does break up. It does break up a lot of that brass. It's just going to be a bit of a pain. Got to stand inside the wind tunnel on Friday. The main fan slash pipe is 2 stories high. Whoa! That's awesome. That must have been one heck of a highlight for you. Hi, Mary. Hope you're well. Yay, orders. Awesome. Just as a reminder, we do have a 3D printing business. Link is down below in chat. Exclamation point 3D. Or if you're over on Instagram, if you go to my link tree, it's one of the first links in there. And honestly, it's going pretty damn well. Like, we're getting pretty consistent orders now, which is great. We're routinely getting people leaving amazing feedback on our Etsy store. Lots of people favoriting it as well, and favoriting the items as they see them. And we've actually got some new items hitting the store this week. So please, please go take a look, go visit. And just for the sake of those on Instagram, this here is one of the 3D prints, or rather one of the things that came out of our 3D printer, so you can kind of see the quality of what we have. This isn't available for sale, just putting that out there. This was purely a personal project for myself, but you can get some rough idea as to like the quality that we tend to churn out here at Vixen's Miniatures HQ. Wish I had room for a 3D printer. Yeah, they do take up a bit of space. It's more making sure that you've got adequate ventilation that tends to take up the most space. Looking at a third? What? That's news to me. I didn't realize we were looking at getting a third. I'd have thought the 2 we have is enough. I'd rather make sure we get our money's worth out of the 2 we currently have first. Jupiter and Neptune look so cute. They're also massive, and we don't have space for either of them. It took a lot of self-control to stop myself buying one in recent sales. Yeah, I find out we very much like self-control around printers. Yes, this I can confirm. Somehow the £100 GW voucher I was given for my leaving do is still sat in my GW account. Now that's more of a sign of self-control than anything else. Like, that would have been gone within seconds if it were mine. Ooh, that was lucky. Waiting on the next Space Marine release wave. Fair. I don't think there's anything really coming down the pipeline Space Marines wise that I'm really all that bothered about getting. Which is weird to say. Titan time. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Are you about to print off a Titan? Should I be worried? Might see if Sunlu, not yet need resin first, might see if Sunlu will sponsor it. I don't know. I'd say it's worth a try, but at the same time, I don't know how they'd feel about something like that. I'm sort of second guessing myself for that face veil of hers. I haven't quite decided if I like that or if I would rather do that differently. Something to think about. Tell you what though, we will pop her to one side and we'll come back to her in favour of finishing off these flayed ones, because I want to get some of those details on here as well. 90% sure there will be Assault Intercessors jump packs on new Vanguard vets, multi-pack kits of Stern Guard Terminators, Ballista Dreads, Punch will be new Scouts, multi-pack Outriders. I could see myself getting 2 out of those. but I'm also in no real rush for any of them, so like what I'm more interested in getting is more chaos stuff. I'm very much looking at getting more chaos bits. One thing, I need a whole bunch of legionnaires. Ah, buggery. Just poked a hole into my wet palette. That's not good. I'm feeling that the Rhino base tanks will go Legends, though need to be new options running on top of the Impulsor chassis. Yeah, I hope they do bring out some kind of Primaris appropriate Rhino, though, because the Rhino's always been like a classic. It's always been such an iconic Space Marine kit. And the fact that they're still keeping the Chaos Space Marines Rhino, the fact that Sisters are still keeping their Rhino. It would be odd if Space Marines of our faction are the only ones that should have a Rhino but don't. I mean, they have a freaking Rhino outside of Warhammer World. It would be so odd if all of a sudden they just stopped selling them. Like, that's how iconic that tank is. There we go. Next one. I think I need to give my brushes a proper clean after this. With some brush soap. It's starting to go a little bit crunchy. Which I suspect is either a load of overuse, in which case probably just need to give them a serious clean, or it might be actually time to replace them. I mean, I've had these brushes in particular for going on 2 years now. They've done me really well considering how much painting I tend to get on with. Like, yeah, I've started using my Pro Art Sable hair brushes a bit more, but these are still more or less my go-to ones. Time for me to hit the hay. No problem, Mike. Thank you for stopping by and thank you for the raid. It was greatly appreciated. Always nice of you to share your community with us. And for those of you still sticking around off the back of Mike's raid, thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you're having a good time. Good evening to you too, sir. There we go. I think we can probably start neatening up some of these areas now. I also have to think about how to do the skin. Let's crack out a bit of dark flesh. Not terribly realistic as far as skin tones go, but at the same time, that kind of works in my favor in a way. A little bit of pale flesh as well for some of the highlights, I think. Do a bit of a mix of each. Pop a little bit of Reichland flesh shade in there as well. Okay, that's just made it too thin. Not entirely sure. Let's just get some bit on and then see how we feel about it. It's okay, I suppose. Like, it does sort of look like skin-ish. Not necessarily like human skin, flayed or otherwise, though. Looks a bit more like raw chicken skin. That sort of horrible flabby stuff. Which I suppose kind of works, I guess. Just not sure how I feel about it. Hmm. I think I might be painting over that skin at some point. Just a thought. Okay, that sort of works. I think, maybe. Okay, I think I like it better now. I think my problem might have been technique as opposed to colour. And so we'll get some highlights on that. Hi Utechi, hope you're well. Sorry if I mispronounced that. Just working on a few little Necron figures for the base of this big lady here. There we are. So if we sort of keep those highlights to sort of the loosest areas. See, now it sort of looks more like he sort of draped tortilla wraps over his legs. I don't know. I normally don't have these kinds of issues doing skin, but I'm really seem to be struggling tonight. I don't think it looks awful, it just doesn't look right, if that makes sense. I suppose like arguably looks kind of close-ish to more like an heavy metal style of doing skin, which I argue doesn't really look a massive amount like skin. For those not in the know, heavy metal being the in-house paint studio team of Games Workshop. I mean, I do plan on getting some like blood and gore on here in a minute or two once I'm done with all this highlighting. So who knows, maybe that might fix it up a little bit. But at the moment, for now, I don't know. It's just something feels off about it. I can't quite put my finger on what. Yeah, I don't know. We'll come back to that. Figure it out, I suppose. Ooh, one thing I could do though, if I go into some of that pale flesh just on its own very finely, we can do little etchings and hatches like that, make it look like scars. Whether that be through like battle scars or little scratches gouged into the flesh from where these guys have sort of draped these skins over themselves using their big scissor hands. Hi, Fat Sam's Grand Slam. Hope you're well. Just working on a few little Necron flayed ones. It's part of a big diorama kind of thing. I say big diorama. About this size. They're going to be going on the base of that. Hi Maya, hope you're well too. We're just doing what we usually do on a Monday night, which is paint minis. There we are, just like little cross hatches like that, just breaks up some of those flatter parts of the skin, I think. Which I'm fairly happy with. Okay, right. Whoa. Actually, I turned my light off there. There we are. That's better. Right, what we can do at this point, I feel... Yeah, because we've got some Rakarth flesh out already. We can use that on the trim here, which I think would work quite nicely. Sorry, not on the trim, the shoulder pad. Mine went blank there for a second. So I'll get some brassy brass out. We'll use that on the trim. We'll also apply this onto the Aquila on the front of the Dead Space Marine's chest. Yeah, if we at least get the basic colours of this down, we can always fix it up later if we need to. So at this point, it still sort of is base coat stage more than anything, really. Hi, Fred Duncan. Hope you're well. We're just working on this big, badass Necron lady on top of disemboweled Space Marine motif. And her flayed one groupies. Alright, carefully does it as we work this across that shoulder pad, right up to the edge of the trim. There we go. Need to do a couple of coats of that, but for now, that's more or less where it needs to be. And go into some Reikland Flesh Shade, and we'll use that to shade down that brass on the Aquila. Right. Think next thing would be we'll get a little bit of Agrax Earthshade and we'll do a quick recess shade. Just into these areas of separation in Zunbakia's armor. And just in between all these areas on her as well. All the symbols on her legs. These sort of gaps in her rib cage. What we'll do as well is we'll paint over any obviously textured areas. Like this plate on the back where the Catan shard is making a desperate attempt at escape out of her body. We'll also work some of this into the in-betweens of the segments of her tail there. And then just over the cartouche in the center of her chest there. We'll get a little bit more Agraxelf. And we'll run it along the striations of the shaft of her cleaver there. Always, hi BLT Vampire, always room for more Agrax, absolutely. Hope you're well. Absolutely average. Ah, well, it's better than below average. Always got to look on the bright side like that. Great. No, it's not an area that's massively visible, but it makes the difference anyway. Is it if it's below average, it's outside normal, that makes it interesting. That's one way of looking at it. Can't say that's something I immediately thought about, so thank you. Let's do it quick. Second coat on that shoulder pad there. There we are. Because we already have the brass out. I hate white paint. Yeah. I find actually getting a good white paint tends to make a massive world of difference. Like, I used to hate painting white as well, and then I got tuned on to Procryl's Bold Titanium White, which is by far the best white paint I've ever used. So that definitely helped. That made a world of difference for me. Have that, still hate doing it. Fair enough. Each to their own. For me personally, it's yellows I hate doing. And to a lesser extent, oranges. I always seem to struggle getting a good coverage with oranges. I've done any yellow a long time, so I'm not sure if I still dislike it. That's fair. The last time I did any seriously, it was when I was painting that Craftworld Iyanden Wraithlord for the charity stream I did last year. Which I suppose just makes it slightly bad luck that it did inspire me to paint more of them. I suppose we'll soon find out whether or not I'm going to regret that, but that's another project for another time, I think. Doomad Bealtan and a Deathwing are what put me off white. Ah, no, that's understandable. In my tower now being doing a turquoise just to avoid white. Oh, wow. Bold choice. Actually, I think turquoise tower would probably look pretty good. But I might be biased somewhat because I do like turquoise as a colour. I also love painting turquoise. Do you really like how this is coming out? Let's see how we're doing. Nearly 3 o'clock. Okay. Nearly 3 o'clock, sorry. Nearly 3 hours. So we'll probably end it soon. But for now, if I can try and do as much of this brass layering as I can, that'll give us a good place to stop, ready for next week. Thing is, as much as I'm actually enjoying this project, because I really am, it's so far looking fantastic, I also don't want to burn through it too quickly. It is. Comes from Cult 3D. In fact, the base on the bottom of it actually has this really nice, like, big kind of credit to the artist thing. So designed and sculpted by Facundo Fonseca, optimized for printing by Dennis Sebastian Becker and Facundo Fonseca. Oh, I think I'm butchering a whole bunch of those Italian names there. But yeah, it's for one of the more interesting, but I'd say lesser known Necron characters that doesn't have their own official GW model. So someone on Cult 3D designed one, and this is what we've ended up with, and I think it looks really good. Not sure it's something you could ever really use in game. I suppose you could maybe adjust the stats of the Silent King to fit, but I also don't know of many places that would let you. Also, without those big nuclear menhirs that he's got, doesn't quite make the same way. Necronauts is poor, not a popular faction in my area, so never had much interaction with them. Oh, that's fair. Now, they were always the faction that originally got me into 40k when I was a teenager. I just could never afford to collect the models, but I used to devour their lore quite nicely, and I don't remember if that was before or after their lore completely changed. I know she wasn't a character around at that point. She's a relatively recent-ish addition. But she is the only canonically female Necron. She's the leader of her own dynasty, the Maynarch dynasty, which are popular only in the sense that they're kind of the poster dynasty of most of the Forge World Necron stuff. They're all painted in that same sort of brass and orange colour scheme. But they are absolutely badass. Current Project Army is a sister's army, so can't relate to minority numbers of females. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. I mean, I primarily collect Chaos myself, so... But I am looking at diving headfirst into Necrons at some point. Tau seem androgynous enough to not make a difference. That's true. And I suppose you could sit and debate the whole idea of the gender identity of a bunch of disembodied, soulless robots. But the fact of the matter is, almost all of the Necrons like named characters, especially the ones that everybody knows and loves, things like the Silent King, Imhotep the Stormlord, Trajan the Infinite, all male. And then you have this lady here, the Mother of Oblivion. Again, doesn't have her own model, so there's no real confirmation, but with a title like that, the implication is very clear, and she's the only one, like... So most Necron dynasties are led by what are called Pharaons. She's the only one with the title of Pharaoh, which, again, follows out like a heavy implication of that being the female equivalent of that royal title. Being GW fairly surprised there's not some chesty Necrons in the lineup. Yeah, that's fair, I suppose. Nah, let's face it, only the Imperium are ridiculous enough to have an entire army of females and give them boob plate. Because let's face it, I mean, the Ecclesiarchy are basically a stand-in for the Holy Roman Empire. Boob plates and corsets, yes, exactly. But yeah, like they're the only stand-in for, like, they are a big stand-in for the Holy Roman Empire, so it's only natural to say that the vast majority of the males are probably pervs. Luckily, even without gene seed manipulation, they perfected running in heels. Yep, that's true. So I'm a huge fan of the YouTuber Jill Bearup, and her sort of like breaking down cinematic sword fights and cinematic fights in general, but also her reviewing Armor series. And I know she has featured Sisters of Battle in one of those videos, and she knows nothing about 40k. If I remember rightly, her summation of it was that she absolutely loved the design, but it was still quite fun hearing her absolutely tear the practicality of the armor to utter pieces. Yes, not actually armor. If I remember rightly, though, the Sisters of Battle Armor didn't end up in the lowest tier of Just Stab Me Now, so I feel like that's at least some points in their favour. Because it did include some armor. Yes. Yep. It does. There is some level of protection there, even if it does have boob plate with fleur de lis on them. Pricking corsets and combat heels. Although, if I remember right now, I have seen like various breakdowns of things like the scene from Jurassic World with that female character running away from the T-Rex in heels. And like it is actually physically possible to do that. It's just very impractical because you're more likely to just break the heel and then snap your ankle more than you are to actually survive, air quotes, that kind of situation. I remember the actress's name, I just don't remember what role she played. I was like, she's like an administrator or like a manager or something at the resort. I know she's not a scientist. Like the movie makes very great pains to establish that she is absolutely not a scientist. It's a very impressive aesthetic, even if it is dumb. Yes, definitely. Rarely need to wear heels, but I feel confident in the situation that would be amongst the first things I lost. Yep. Like at that point, I'd be weighing up the whole like practicalities of if I shred my feet on like all the broken glass and debris and like all the jungle undergrowth versus trying to run away from dinosaurs in freaking high heels. Like it is an equation that would my brain would have to take some moment to have a serious think about, but I do feel like the heels wouldn't win out that particular debate in my head. And again, fun fact, I've never actually worn heels. Like, closest I've come to is I've tried on my girlfriend's sort of heeled platform boots because we're about the same shoe size. Cut feet or lying face first in the open with a predator chasing me. Well, exactly. Let's be honest, neither option's particularly great. But I feel like at least one of those is significantly worse than the other. feel I like my chances with cut feet. Well, yeah. That is until you have to stop running. There are very few women that do have to wear heels that don't carry flats with them. Well, exactly. Like, even when I go on nights out, I'm usually either wearing flats or I have a pair of flats to easy hand. Rare as those occasions are, especially these days. Right. Overall, I feel pretty damn good about this. I love the way that this is coming out so far. Still got quite a bit of work to do on it, so we're not entirely finished with it just yet. Thank you, greatly appreciate that. I think what we'll do in which case is we'll take a moment or two to end the stream on Instagram. So goodbye everyone out there. And we'll wrap things up on here. Oh, God, it's warm. Right. Let's see. Who can we pay the love to? Who's actually even still alive at the moment? I almost said who's still alive. Slightly poor wording. Ooh. Studio J7's Onan has been on for like 4 hours and is doing his own version of Massive Monday, that cheeky sod. Although, to be honest with you, he wins out because that model is huge that he's working on. But he has been going for like 4 hours, so he's probably going to be wrapping up soon. Shorty Paint Studios, though, how long have they been on for? Less than an hour. Okay, I'll chuck you all over in their direction. Hashtag honk for honks. So August in Scotland shouldn't have windows open. God, you must be living in a very mild part of Scotland. Right, okay. We will be back on Wednesday, same time, 8 PM BST for Whip Wednesday. So if you've been working on anything, get it into the Discord. We'll show it all off on stream whilst I work on some Death Guard because, yeah, I've already started on them. May as well continue with them. I will see you all then. Bye.